Hi guys, and welcome to lesson 2 in module 4. I'm going to be talking all about location and demographic targeting. So basically the initial and probably some of the most significant targeting options that you need to set up before you then go on and get into custom audiences, lookalike audiences, interest-based targeting options, things like that. Okay, so I'm in an example ad account. I've got a campaign created, and then we're just going to create an ad set because that's obviously what we need to be able to set the targeting up. So I've just created an ad set. It's just called new conversions ad set for now, which is absolutely fine. And then what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down, and there's lots of other settings and things here, by the way, guys. Don't worry about those. They're all going to be covered in module 5 around delivery settings and things like that, okay? Here we're focusing on this audience section, otherwise known as targeting. And custom audiences, don't worry, we're very much going to be covering those in later videos. But before you get into audiences, I think it's important to focus on the location targeting stuff and then the broad demographics, things like age, gender, that sort of things. So that's what we're going to focus on. So let's do location first. Okay, now if you are a business that operates locally, and what I mean by that is your products and services are only really sellable, only deliverable to people in a certain geographical area, then you absolutely just want to advertise to that geographical area. I've heard people say things like, yeah, but I heard Facebook ad campaigns perform better if you advertise to larger audiences. Okay, yes, that's true, but there's no point getting a lead for your services somewhere where you can't deliver that service, okay? So I live currently in a town called Cheltenham. And let's say, for example, I had a local business where, let's say, service-based or something like that. Then I can go ahead and put in Cheltenham in here, Gloucestershire, England, as a town. And then I can select the radius around that area where I want people to see my ads, where I believe I can deliver my product or service. So this should absolutely be where you're willing to travel to effectively. If it's a service-based business, which usually a lot of local businesses are, or if you have customers coming to you, again, how far are they willing to travel? That might be as little as, 15 miles, for example, okay? It might be more. It probably depends on how many competitors you have, how many different types of businesses there are. For something like a gym where there's tons of gyms, people don't really want to travel very far. Whereas for something that's really specialist and maybe there's only a few of you in the area, perhaps people are willing to travel a little bit further. So have a really good think about that. Think how far either am I willing to travel, how far do I think my customers are likely to be willing to travel, and then settle on an amount. For many businesses, Facebook defaults 25 miles. That might actually be a bit too big. You might maybe want to go with 20, 15, something like that. But that's the first thing I want to mention around location targeting is if you're local, as in your product, your customers come from a local area, because that's where they either need to come to you or you deliver product or service, then go ahead and select that option. And don't worry that that's going to massively reduce your audience size. You can see that 15 miles around Cheltenham, my audience size over here is 440,000, which we're going to get into audience size in a bit, but that's really quite small. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. There's nothing we can do about that, and we can still make Facebook advertising work. I just want to make that quite clear. Okay, so that's local targeting options, location-based. I'm going to talk more about some local targeting adjustments you need to make for local businesses in another video in this module, because that's really, really important, okay? Oh, and by the way, just quickly, I would go with people living in this location or recently in this location if that's applicable, which it will be for a lot of businesses. If it's more like a gym, for example, where people are going to come again and again and again, then you just want to go ahead and select people living in this location. You can see that Facebook got a few other options, but they're unlikely to apply, okay? So again, just think about how does this apply to my business? Is it only people that actually only live here? Could they have recently traveled in? Like a restaurant, for example, could definitely be traveling. Like that wouldn't be a problem. You would want living and traveling, but a lot are just going to want to go with people living, okay? Now, for the businesses that offer products or services that can be delivered nationally or internationally, I don't want you to go ahead and target specific areas. So for example, if I can advertise to the whole of the United Kingdom, let's say I'm an e-commerce business, for example, go ahead and select the whole of the United Kingdom. Don't go and just target London or just target, Manchester, specific locations that you think are going to do better, and that's where your customers are going to come from. Facebook's going to be able to work that out, and we want to give Facebook the largest audience possible, within some boundaries, but the largest audience possible, so that Facebook's machine learning process can work it out. Yes, it might be that the average person in London, for example, is a better prospect of yours than the average person in another location in the UK. But that doesn't mean that you don't have great prospects all around the country and you want to be able to reach those people. And the same applies, whether you're advertising in the US or in India or wherever. Allow Facebook to do its thing. And if you can deliver your product nationally or service, then go ahead and target the whole country. Don't get specific. Now, the question then comes around, what should you do if you can target internationally? Like my business, for example, Facebook Advertising Agency, we have clients all around the world. In that scenario, I'd recommend you pick one country that you're most familiar with. Perhaps you've done the most business in first, get your campaigns to the point where they're working really well, and then look to expand after that. So for example, we have clients all around the world, but we're UK based. And I don't know, 40% of our clients are in the UK, something like that. So we would start with the UK, most likely. Maybe the US, because probably about 40% of our clients are US with 20% other. We'd get something to work and then we look to expand. And then we'd go ahead and add in the United States and things along those lines, okay? You don't need to start off with tons of different markets. Different markets react differently to different products and services. And you might need ad copy tweaks, certain variations to get things to work. If you've already got a history of advertising on Facebook, you already know that, for example, you sell in the UK, US, Australia, Canada, all markets perform well, then you can also absolutely go with that. That's not an issue if you're already set up. But if you're sort of getting started, you haven't yet got campaigns that are working, I usually recommend going for that one market to start with. Okay, but not a big deal if you change it. Okay, then we move on to age range. What you want to do here is go for the age range that is most applicable to your target market, but be pretty generous with it. So for example, if I had a business where the average customer was aged 30 to 45, okay, come in here and click edit, 30 to 45 would be what, say, 80% of our customers fall into. I wouldn't quite go with that. I might go with something like 25 to 50. Or even 55. So we've taken our core and we've added extra onto it. Again, Facebook's going to be able to work out that, look, if most of your customers happen to be 40 to 45, Facebook's going to advertise to those people first and more frequently, and they're going to do that to help you get the best results. That's why we're using conversion campaigns and things like that, particularly with our direct offer and lead magnet webinar strategies, so that Facebook can work all this stuff out for us and really help improve our performance. You can always come in and narrow this down. If you see, for example, that certain segments are performing much better, then that's absolutely fine. Come in and narrow this down. But I'd start with something that is around your age range, but pretty generous. If in doubt, the larger the audience, so being a wider age range, is better than being more specific. Again, in general, when it comes to Facebook ad audiences, they perform better with more people in them. Then we get onto genders. Most businesses, we're going to go with all genders. For some, we're going to go one way or the other. For me, I want at least an 80%, often a 90% preference either way. So if a business comes to us and they're like, look, 90% of our customers are female, boom, that's absolutely fine. We're going to go ahead and select women. Vice versa with men, that's okay. Otherwise, we're going to select all. There's lots of businesses that are, say, 70% women, 30% men, or vice versa. We want to go with all. You don't want to miss out on that 30% of the market. Again, if your market is, say, 75% women, 25% men, Facebook's going to be able to work that out. They're going to advertise to women more often, more frequently. And that is going to help you get the best results, but also capitalize on the other part of your market, which is still at that point significant. There's going to be some fantastic prospects in there. A lot of those businesses, the one way or the other, perhaps the product or service being offered can be used as a gift. So even if it's primarily women using the product, doesn't mean that just women are going to be buying the product. Could be men buying them for them, and again, vice versa. So I think that's something to be aware of. If you are 85% plus one way or the other, then yes, it's fine to go with one gender. If you are not, if you're anything less than that, even if you skew one way or the other, I'd go with all. Again, one thing I want to quickly mention is to keep an eye on this potential reach on the right-hand side. We're going to have more information on audience size in a separate video. But whatever you do here to narrow down in terms of age and gender, so if you just go with women, and let's say you narrow this down, this is going to reduce the potential reach significantly. That may become an issue once we start adding in detailed targeting options or other things in here, in which case that's absolutely fine. You may just want to come in and adjust these after we've then added in the detailed targetings and things like that. But for now, go ahead and get this set up as I've described. That sets you up well for the basic demographics, the location targeting, and then we're going to move on to, in the next video, some more detailed targeting stuff and get into custom audiences and plug audiences. Actually, I just remembered one thing I want to talk about before I move on, and that's languages. It's obviously not something that applies huge amounts to the UK, but just have a little think about this. And if you just go with all languages, which would be the default, that's absolutely fine. I didn't mean to deselect that, but you may want to just target specific segments of your market. Like if you're in Canada, for example, and you are advertising in French-speaking Canadian areas, and you just want to advertise to French speakers, or you're advertising nationally, but you want to focus on French speakers, or vice versa, all that's absolutely fine. You can definitely go ahead and do that. Yeah, just something to note, a way to potentially zero in on your target market a little bit better, and you can go ahead and add those details in. Okay, so hopefully that's useful. Let's now go on to detailed targeting, show you how to go about finding awesome interest, demographics, behaviors, and start to get into some more exciting targeting stuff like that. I'll see you in the next video.